The Typologies design guide isn't a master plan or a budget or anything like that. It's just a reference manual, a book of ideas that helps not only the city, but the residents as well to reimagine what their streets can look like if and when a project comes up for reconstruction. The process was about 3 years actually, and we did 3 different public engagement opportunities, and that yielded about 6,000 comments from all 3 of those combined. What people told us was that they wanted their streets to be safer and slower and smaller, and they wanted more options for how to get around. The reason why we did the guide is because whenever we do a project, we start with basically a blank slate, and sometimes that can be really good because it opens up all the ideas to us, and sometimes it can be a little bit limiting because the existing design, the street that's out there, is a very powerful draw for a lot of people. It's easy to just say, we'll just put the street back exactly how it is. And so this design guide allows us to have at least one other alternative for each street in how it could look in a context and design appropriate way. It's important because our streets are very large, and much of the area and land dedicated to our streets is also dedicated to cars. And we want our streets to be accessible and comfortable and inviting for everybody. And so whether, Monday you choose to drive and Tuesday you choose to walk and Wednesday you choose to take the bus, the street should work well for you and equally well for you regardless of what day of the week or what form of transportation you take. The reason why the city is interested in transforming the design of the streets that we have is because streets can be assets, but they can also be liabilities. And when a street is dedicated just to 1 or 2 purposes, sometimes it can be a liability because it's not resilient to change, it's not resilient to the way that people might change the way that they get around, and it's a lot of public space that is really only used for a couple different purposes. So one of the reasons why we want the design guide is so that we have these assets, these really wealth and health producing spaces in our cities for everybody, regardless of what part of the city that they live in. Another reason why we want the design guide is because many of our streets are unsafe by design, and we want to make sure that they are safe by design. We don't just want a sign telling people to drive slower or just a painted bike lane telling people where they can ride their bike. We want the whole design holistically of the street to communicate the intention of that street, for people to drive slower, for people to have space to walk and bike, and frankly so that we can save the lives and livelihoods of the people that are in our city, whether they live here or not. Anybody can access this design guide in English and in Spanish by going to slc.gov/transportation/typologies or slc.gov/transportation/typologies, and they'll be able to see the entire design guide, all of the individual pieces of the design guide, and a map for where each of these new typology designs have been assigned in the city.